So to talk about conscientiousness and coming into one's own, right? And
Right. So,
understanding who you are. Big
yes,
topic.
I was very excited about this topic of conscientious and coming into one's own because in the age of technology, where we're becoming increasingly less self-aware, it's this weird dichotomy of there are so many resources to become self-aware, but the resources you use make you not come into your own, like a cell phone. And I know that's like a typical answer, but there's a lot of truth in that. So I'm excited to hear what you have to say about conscientious and coming into your own. I think it'll be a good discussion. And I know a lot of people, especially during this pandemic, will connect to that.
Yeah, so awareness of self, of other, of things, right? And conscientiousness is, it's pretty linked. Meditation and like becoming aware of your body, like body work, whether it's dancing or athletics, or if it's just yoga and stuff of that nature. There are so many different ways to increase your conscientiousness. And ultimately, it's just this recognition, this meta cognition, which allows you to just know who you are, right? So it's the people who are most conscientious that if they don't know who they are, they know what they want to do for the world. They know how they want to be for other people. I think of stereotypical saints, throughout history, those are just really nice people, right? They might not care about their wants and desires. They might not have that figured out more or less, but they're conscientious. They're aware of other people's needs. And so there's this book that I came across but haven't even read called To Know as We Are Known. And so
Mm.
it's education as a spiritual journey. Now, I didn't read this, but this was the context for when I did read this book, The Wisdom of the Enneagram. And these are
Mm.
really cool tools that say, hey, not everybody learns the same way. And so back in college, you remember Annie Diamond, right, Julian? Diamond was an old resident director for Cortina and
The
for,
best resident director.
she was awesome, and she was so wise and helped me learn a lot because she basically took this book and turned it into an outside of college class. So it wasn't
Mm.
like a class where you sign up in the typical way, but it was like 20 different people that got together and talked about their experience growing up with their specific personality. It was the Enneagram is 9 different personality types, as you can see here on this diagram. And we had like 2 or 3 of each. And it was pretty remarkable to be able to put us all in one setting where we get to know, how each person thinks and feels. We became more aware, of ourselves. Oh my gosh, totally of ourselves first and foremost, but then also of all these other people. And so this is a tool, right, that allows us to know other people as in the same way that we might know ourselves. And this book right here is that, concept is something that's going to help you transform your life. To know as we are known is to listen. It's to be fully present to what somebody has going on and how they're processing any new concept, right? In the case of education. So these are really, really helpful. Contextually speaking, this is a great tool along with Myers-Briggs, the 5 love languages, Strengths Finder, the Big Five. There's a whole lot of personality type indexes that are just really great for, they're not restrictive in my opinion. I don't think that they should be used to prescribe who someone is. They should be used to observe and describe. So
Mm.
when people are saying with personality types like, oh, you're this type, you're that type, you're this type, slow down, right? You don't want to confuse somebody because you don't know them, they know them. And so what you need to kind of do together is help that person learn what all the different types are, and then just kind of present different scenarios that allow them to choose between the differentiating qualities. So like my friend Stephanie, for example, she was like, "Hey Nick, I just took a test. Am I an 8 or a 2? And I'm like, I don't know. Let's figure it out. So, and then I asked her a question. In a moment of crisis, how do you experience a fight or flight or freeze, right? The typical response to experiences of trauma. It's crazy how much your type psychology is tied and wired to your everyday behaviors. And so learning about it allows you to deal with it in a much more healthy way versus letting it control you. You're kind of in control of it, more or less. It's not about control. It's really about surrender. So it's cool.
No, absolutely. It's actually funny you bring that up. Part so I worked. I was before the pandemic. I worked for a nonprofit, and one of the things that we had to do during training was do a lot of these personality type things.
Yeah.
But the reason for it, and I like the way it was framed. It was in a way that you framed it as well. It was a way to better at our job. We all live together, and you're always working together. And we have a bad habit of when we see somebody's pattern of behavior or pattern of personality, we have a habit of making that characteristic trait quality as a negative or holding it in a negative light to blame them for being who they are. Really, it's just we all have our strengths and we all have our weaknesses. And humans, where we have DNA, and it's learning to like harvest that. And as you were saying, like identify it, not because you're better or worse for it, just so that you know how to. I know how to deal with myself better, and you know how to deal with me better. And it's as you say. I like that way. The word you use, surrender. It goes a long way, I think, especially in the workplace, because we have a really bad habit of using people's personalities against them and characterizing people based on their personality. And it's usually we do that if we're on different ends of the personality,
Hmm.
right? Not because like you'll see these two people work better together than these two people,
Yeah.
uh, right? But it's not. It's because you're on the opposite ends, not really anything else. And once you know that, and you really actually see that, it goes a long way. I think in your work life, and personal life too, of course. But I saw it really help in my work life.
So yeah, conscientiousness and that sort of stuff is great in a workaday world sense, right? Operational of just going out and having a good, healthier work relationship, or even romantic relationships and those sorts of things. But to get more spiritual about it, yeah, like conscientiousness, like the power of now. I don't know if you've ever heard of this dude, Eckhart Tolle. He's got this book, and I've got the sequel to this book, that talks about presence and how stepping into your body and being aware of what your body is made of, being aware of that as opposed to being stuck in your ego, which is your thoughts and your emotions, right? You can tap into joy, you can tap into love, and this, as he describes it, Christ spirit. So like when Jesus came, um, supposedly according to this dude from Germany, who's talking about Christianity in general. He thinks that Christ came and was a perfect embodiment of someone who is fully present all the time. And in
Mm,
and in that true full presence, Jesus was grounded in this Christ spirit, which is this notion that we all have of like, you're my brother, you're my sister, like we're the same. Like I I'm a human, you're a human. There's value to that. We are all part of that same consciousness. It's a collective human consciousness, right? That some of us just know inherently about growing up. Some of us take drugs to find out about it. Some of us never find out about it. Personally, it's hard for me to ignore because, you know, I did mushrooms one time, many times, and it was a great time because it was just like this clear feeling that I'm not I'm not this island when I'm living here on Earth, right? I came from my parents came from their parents, and there's just this big, massive network of connections just waiting to happen. It's almost like a simulation where, when you go out into the real world and something crazy happens and it feels like a glitch in the matrix, it's just like that's cool, you know. It's just part of the way that the universe exists. I don't know. I'm kind of speaking out my butt right now.
Did you
I
do
have
some shrooms?
no, I
Nah.